I got drunk at work, stole cheesecake, and ended up passing out in the dressing room.
I fed my boyfriend and his friends dog food. When I was 9, I started the biggest fire my town had seen in 150 years. When I was 9, my older cousin, 14, stayed with me and my family for a couple weeks. My cousin was a troublemaker, and her parents had hoped that sending her to ours would keep her out of trouble for a little while. One day, while she was over, I asked if we could go to one of our local forest areas and make a fire to roast marshmallows. When we got down there, we made a little makeshift campfire out of newspapers and sticks all on top a rock. Eventually, my curiosity got the better of me, and I started chucking different things into the fire. Leaves, sticks, pine cones, anything I could find in the little area we were in. Then I wondered what a leaf on a tree would do if we set fire to it. My cousin got her lighter and lit a small leaf on a nearby tree. I stared at the reaction in awe, and my cousin set a group of leaves on fire. We laughed as we watched the fire slowly engulf the branch. Once the fire burnt itself out, we carried on setting fire to bushes and branches, and then we realized that the fire wasn't dying out. In fact, it's spreading. My cousin started to freak out as she realized the fire wasn't stopping. The summer heat wave had made everything so dry that it was catching fire extremely quickly. She grabbed my hand and we ran to the dirt road that was on the outskirts to the forest. But instead of calling 999, we just stood there, watching it as it spread and spread and spread. My cousin almost called them multiple times, but I kept telling her I didn't want to get into trouble, so she never did. It had eventually spread so much that the fire department had trouble controlling it and had to order an evacuation of a nearby village. It was said to be the biggest fire the town had seen in 150 years. No one was hurt, but it did take 10 hours to get under control. It wouldn't have been as bad if I hadn't stopped my cousin calling 999 when we first lost control. Both I and my cousin had promised not to tell a soul, but 12 years on and my guilt is still here. I still feel terrible about it. Now this is why you don't play with fire unsupervised, and if you do end up playing with fire, because it is kind of cool, be sure to call the fire department, please. Everything was okay until the Fire Nation invaded. And I thought setting Grandma on fire was bad. No, that's still pretty bad. Don't do that either. All you did was make that area of the forest greener the next year. Is that how that works? I don't really know much about botany, so I don't know how trees work. I cheated on my husband with a married man, which resulted in the breakup of both our marriage. Well, long story short, I was in a horrible marriage with my alcoholic husband. He was hanging out with swingers and got a drunken BJ while he was stationed in Korea. I was back home in America. At some point, he said things to me that broke my heart into pieces. So I went alone to prove myself I am worthy of appreciation from a man. Found a man, and he was married and in a failing marriage. They had not had sex in 2 years and were sleeping in different beds. I just wanted a male friend to appreciate me, but we ended up falling in love. Of course, we carried on with the affair. And of course, a spouse got suspicious and had a falling out, and it contributed to the breakup of the marriage. I fell completely out of love with my husband before even started the affair. Once I met a new man, there was no turning back. It is about to be 3 years that we've been together, and he has been one of the best things that has happened in my life. We are soulmates, best friends. I can't tell anyone this story, but I had to confess. Ooh, yeah, sure, it worked out. That's not okay, though. I don't know, that's bad. Military couples and cheating on each other. Name a more iconic duo. I'll wait. Word to the wise. If you're gonna cheat, then cheat with someone in a relationship so both of y'all got something to lose. It's a pretty good point, I guess. 2 cheaters got together. I'm sure that will work out good. I cheated on every Spanish test I took in high school. So I am not a fan of cheating and have never cheated in any other class. When I was in high school, I was forced to take Spanish to graduate. I am not good with language, and living in the Southwest, I was the only student in the class who didn't already know Spanish. The teacher was therefore unsympathetic and refused to slow down and help. To pass, I needed a solution. I realized on her test days, she would have us use our own sheet of paper. I would make my study sheet on the page before the one I would use for the test and press so hard that I would have it transferred onto the test sheet. This bumped my grades from F's to A's. Teacher suspected me pulling shenanigans, but never caught me. I feel bad. And as an instructor, never let students use their own paper on tests. Whoa, slow down, buddy, okay? Cheating is all a part of the game of school. At least that's how I learned it from Naruto. For my foreign language credit, I took Spanish 1. I was already fluent in Spanish, but acted as if I didn't know any and just skated by. You shouldn't cheat, but what else do you expect teenagers to do when you put them into crappy situations with crappy teachers? I hide my mother's iPhone charger. My brother and sister are both really rude and mock me for a lot of my personal choice, which have nothing to do with them. Considering I only see them for a few scattered days in the year and they still choose to spend most of the time insulting me, I get really upset. They both have Apple like our mother, who they live with, and I have Android. I often hide my mother's chargers. She has so many everywhere, in her car, laptop, bathroom, living room, kitchen, etc., so that when she discovers them gone, she blames them. She then spends the next few hours furious with both of them and ignoring their requests. Gets me out of the spotlight and no one suspects me since I don't have any Apple products. Okay, at first I did not know where your title could be going, but oh my god, this is genius. You're a criminal mastermind.
Replace them with broken chargers so it gets her even more mad.
You are a diabolical genius. Carry on. I just gave a suburban mom the middle finger and it felt so empowering. I'm a 16-year-old boy. I live in the suburbs. Tonight we have a big parade in the downtown of our city, so tons of cars are driving there and back. I dropped off my parents so they could drink and had to take the neighborhood route back home since all the main streets were packed. I went 20 on the neighborhood roads since there were people and parked cars everywhere. I noticed a white minivan was riding my ass and I was a little annoyed but not angry yet. Then we got to the stoplight and they tried to cross the double yellow lines just to be ahead of me in the left turn lane. But I sped ahead because I was not having that crap. So we were both waiting to go left and I had the longest yellow arrow of my life. Also, everyone was going where we came from, so there was not a single gap I could have went left on. But Mrs. Everything has to be perfect for me because my husband is rich honked 3 times and kept raising her hand and acting like I'm an idiot for not risking my effing life to make a left turn. So as soon as I got that green arrow, I drove right next to her and mouthed a glorious "F you, complete with a middle finger. The look on her face was priceless. She looked so offended and shocked that I would use vulgar language in her little Christian suburb. I usually try to be civil and not get on the bad side of people with more authority than me, but dang, that was liberating. I'm so sick of rich moms doing whatever they want without any consequences, so to upset her like that just felt great. See, I wish I could have stories like this. I need more opportunities to be the mean person, but it's kind of justified. I feel satisfied just knowing this happened. Are you serious? Right in front of my little Christian neighborhood? Ah, yes. Driving really brings out a whole new side of people. It is a little bizarre how different people act when they're driving. Like some people just go ballistic for nothing. In high school, I broke into the mailbox to get my report card. When I was in the 11th grade, I rushed home quickly because I knew I had a bad report card and knew that my mom would be home soon. I had a tough childhood due to my abusive mother, so I knew it would be bad. However, upon arriving to the front of my apartment was the usual bunch of tenants who liked to sit outside and talk with each other. This worried me because I wouldn't be able to get my report card with them around. I felt that they would lecture me and tell my mom. I stepped up in my unit, looking out the window, waiting for them to disperse. Yet, they never did. So, out of desperation, I took a spatula, hidden in a brown Ralph's paper bag, LOL, and went downstairs. When the group of older tenants seemed to not be paying attention to me, I began to nervously proceed with my plan in desperation. As I saw the edge of my report card under the mailbox door, I quickly tried to retrieve it but was unsuccessful. Suddenly, I was caught by C, a 60-something-year-old man. He looked at me and said, "Hun, the f*** you doing?" All the other adults turned to look at me. Finally, I confessed to what was happening, that I wanted my report card so my mom wouldn't see and explain that she was on her way home. I was expecting punishment from the group. They stared at me, then nodded. All of them began to help me. They all knew how my mom was. A mid-30s woman who lived next door, went to keep a lookout for my mom's car. C couldn't get the mailbox open, so he called J over. Suddenly, Suddenly, Jay, a 40-something-year-old man who lived a unit over from me, quickly took out his pocket knife and busted the mailbox open. I couldn't believe what was happening, but I grabbed my report card regardless. How was I going to explain a broken mailbox to my mom? She was obviously going to connect the dots, right? The others in the group hurried to try and close the busted mailbox the best they could. We were able to close it, but I knew once my mom attempted to open her mailbox and couldn't open it, that I would be doomed. Within 5 minutes of that altercation, my mom came home to see me in front with the group of older tenants and immediately proceeded to get her mail. All of us were silent. She couldn't open her mailbox. Immediately after she attempted to open the box, the live-in manager showed up. My heart was pounding to death as he began watching my mom struggle to open the mailbox. Luckily for me, without a second thought, he went on to say, "We have gangsters in this area. A lot of this kind of stuff happens. Don't worry though, we'll get it fixed." My mom accepted that explanation and I never said another word of it for years. I did get better grades though. The tenants had made me promise to in exchange for their support. This is like a beautiful story. I don't know, I just love the idea of these people coming together to help this kid in a time of need. That's so nice. That's so awesome. I love those tenants. That wholesome moment when you got away with committing a federal crime. But seriously, good for you for not wasting your lucky moment. You made it well deserved for yourself. I love this. What an awesome village to have your back. I wish they still sent report cards in the mail. Now the school automatically emails them to your parents. And that led to many a nights of yelling at my household. I steal my housemates' food and nobody ever suspects me because they think I'm vegan. I was vegan when we started living together, but I gave up since then and I started stealing anything I can get my hands on. They never suspect me because they think I wouldn't eat those items. Never been even close to being caught. I always make sure to cook when nobody is home or to hide packaging and wrappers in my trash. It's more about the fact that I can do it without consequences that makes me do it. Nobody complained about missing food items more than a couple of times, so I don't think I am that much of a nuisance. It's still not the best thing to do. You probably should, you don't have to tell them, but start buying your own food maybe. When I had a roommate stealing my food, I started putting ghost pepper flakes on everything. It stopped real fast. That almost sounds evil, but I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. You are the enemy of the people. A rat is a rat no matter which way you shake it. How about you grab a bunch of groceries to replace stolen food, apologize, and come out as an omnivore? I agree with the first part. Maybe you don't apologize, just buy more groceries and tell people, yeah, I don't know, I'm not vegan anymore. It's probably easier that way. I broke the Wi-Fi when my parents refused to get better internet. We have terrible internet right now, the kind that makes you wait until everyone is out of the house to try and play games, and I have a sister, so even when my parents are at work, I can't play. Our internet is so bad that I couldn't send emails to my teachers with homework, and I got punished for it. My parents refused to get better internet using BS excuses like, it's too expensive, you will be on it all the time, and my favorite, our neighbors complained about the guy that installed the new cables. It's BS because we are on an old plan and it's cheaper to switch. I'm pretty active and there is no proof bad installation guy exists. So I learned from a Reddit post that you can give devices priority. Bingo. So after looking into it for a while and spending longer getting into the controls of the modem, I give priority to Ethernet devices. At least that's what I think it was. I was messing about in the settings and the Wi-Fi doesn't work now. Feeling quite proud, I go and play my games. It is slightly understandable for the homework aspect, but I do, I don't know. It's hard to tell who's right and wrong in this. Honestly, fair play. You're being punished for not sending in homework you were trying to send in but can't due to extremely poor internet connection. Just play your games after the work is submitted. Slow internet is more pain in the butt than not having internet. My cat died 2 years ago, and I kept this secret to his grave. When we first adopted him, we had no idea that our cat was going to grow up to a 31-inch long, 23-pound beast, so his name quickly was changed to Bubba. Bubba was an aggressive cuddler. Anytime you were reading a book, he would come over and plant himself directly between your head and your book. Several years before he died, there was a night where my wife and I were laying in bed. I honestly have no idea what I ate that day, but I had a case of particularly noxious gas. I happened to let a silent one go right as Bubba jumped on the foot of the bed. He walked up to the head of the bed. Every step he took helped push the fumes out towards the top of the covers. He reached the pillows and decided to curl up right between my wife and I, with his butt conveniently pointed towards her. It was then that the fumes got out and my wife instinctively blamed Bubba. She grabbed grabbed him off the bed, ejected him from the room, and closed the door. As she spent the next couple minutes complaining about the cat, I couldn't say anything. It was all I could do to keep from laughing about the cat getting the blame. 2 years ago, Bubba died of a heart attack. He was walking across the family room and fell over dead instantly. I will always remember you, and I will never forget the time you took one for the team. Is that really taking one for the team? Because if anything, it sounds like you abandoned the cat to have the guilt. This is the cat of legends. There will be religions about him in 2,000 years. R.I.P. Bubba. Way to take one for the team. Brought a tear of laughter to my eye, possibly similar to Bubba's omission. I let my son believe he's a dinosaur because it helps him sleep better. My 2.5-year-old thinks he's a dinosaur, like 24/7, acts like a dino. It started at about a year old when I made him a dinosaur hoodie for Halloween. He started pretending a lot and roaring at everyone. Then in transitioning from crib to bed, he picked out dinosaur sheets, and it's all dinosaurs all the time from then on. He roars constantly and at total strangers. He has a whole dinosaur family of toys that follows him everywhere. He walks like a dino and tells me every morning what new species he is and gets really upset when I forget today's type. At first, I thought it was cute. Then after a week, I got concerned. Now, after a couple months, I've fully embraced it. With an active 2-year-old, it's sometimes hard to get him to calm down and go to bed. But since the dinosaur awakening, he's gone to bed flawlessly so long as I pretend he is a long neck traveling to the Great Valley. Land Before Time reference for those that don't know. I spin this big story and he closes his eyes and gets so excited. It's his favorite thing in the world. My favorite thing in the world is hearing a quiet, whispered "rawr" in response to my "good night, I love you." He'll probably be upset one day when he discovers I've used his overactive imagination to trick him into sleeping, eating broccoli, walking faster on our hikes, etc. On the other hand, I have 2 months worth of super cute videos of him speaking dinosaur, so I think I'm okay with it. Lucky! I'm pretty sure my 4-year-old thinks she's teenager. Wait until his future wife one day serves him broccoli and a deep memory is awakened. I used the gas card of an old job for 3 years to fuel up my car. Some years ago, I spent a year or so between jobs. One of these was installing/removing insulation from people's attics. It was a complete crap job, but my buddy got me in the door and it actually did pay well. I ended up being there maybe 2 months tops. We worked locations within a 100-mile radius of the company site, so one of our daily routines was to fuel the truck up on the way out of the shop at the trucker fuel stop around the corner. We worked in teams of either 2 or 3 on job sites, and all of the employees were given fuel cards, so there was never any excuse for why we would be in a situation where we couldn't get gas. A few weeks after quitting, I realized I'd forgotten to give them the card back. Another few weeks after that, I was driving in the general location one weekend and just for shits and giggles, went to the fuel stop to see if the card still worked. What do you know? It did. I then decided I was gonna wait until the next time I needed gas, then go to that same stop to fuel up again. I figured if I only used that location like all the other employees do, it wouldn't raise much suspicion when the bill came. This went on for about 3 years until one day the card stopped working. I confessed to my buddy shortly after that what I had been doing. He told me that all the fuel cards were basically just copies of the same card on one account, so they had no way of distinguishing any one specific usage. Also, the shop went out of business, so that's why the card stopped working. You know, one could say that you're the cause of the business going out, but also whatever. They gave you the card, they didn't shut it down. Who's to blame? Your fueling up all those years was what finally put them under. I personally knew a guy who did this, got busted, sued, and charged. Let's just hope that doesn't happen to our pal over there. Let's just let him get away with it, you know? Lied to get out of a school project and ended up stuck in therapy for a year. When I was a senior in high school, in the beginning of the school year, we had to do a project where we had to do a presentation and show how to do something step by step. I picked making chocolate chip cookies, so when I was going to present, I had to show a step by step on how to make them. So I had to bring in milk, eggs, bowls, etc. We had 3 weeks to plan for the project, but it was the day I had to present and I didn't prepare or bring anything. So as soon as I got to school, I went into my English class and told my teacher I didn't have anything because mom and dad got into a fight 2 nights before and my dad kicked us out and we've been living in a hotel. She said it was okay and that she would give me credit for my written part. The next week, I was in 3rd period. I get called into the office. The school therapist was there and told me she wanted to talk to me. She asked me if everything was okay at home and I didn't want to have to do my project and get caught lying, so I kept with the story that my dad kicked us out. I started crying and the therapist told me she would like to see me once a week. So I went for my whole senior year once a week to therapy to avoid doing one project. Okay, I'm not saying you should do this because it's not like the smartest idea, but if you make a bit, you've gotta commit.
Let's have a group therapy session with your folks.
Oh no, nightmare. I'd drop out. I couldn't. Bro, all you had to do was make cookies. You had 3 weeks. Props on the commitment though. That's the true life lesson. Honestly, like cookies are not that hard to make. Like maybe takes 2 hours. It's not hard. You should go into acting. You know, since it did pay off, maybe you are pretty good. I always BS my way through school, and most recently college. I've always hated reading long text when I'm not interested on the topic. So when I was in high school and the teachers gave an assignment related to reading, like in English class when we had to read Macbeth, Of Mice and Men, etc., I would just read chapter summaries and do the respective essays and tests. My lowest grade was like a B, and so on. Or this other time when we were watching a documentary for social studies class and the teacher told us that we had to write the key ideas in a piece of paper. I remember that it was boring, so I was just on my phone, and every once in a while I would write some ideas that I heard. I didn't write more than 10, and when my teacher read it, he said, "This is one of the best summaries I've read." Then someone told me that this would not work in college when you really had to study. Nope, still works. I'm taking a communications class where we have to read a long and boring textbook and write a one-page summary in our own words. For this, I just Google the title of every chapter and get some ideas from different websites and write my summary. So far, I've earned A's in these summaries and another A in the first exam. Sometimes I regret it because I know I'm not really learning anything, but I believe studying shouldn't be the only thing you care for in life. So I'm not going to stress out about the classes I don't like, and that's not required for my degree. And I'm going to continue doing this for as long as I can. Once again, it's not the most advised tactic, but you know, if it works, it works. The only time this may be detrimental to you is when you start taking classes directly related to your major and are out of your intro classes. Otherwise, work smart, not hard. Well, you're taking a communications class. That's why it's still working. I did the same stuff in high school too, but now I'm in engineering and it really does not work. Just wait till you start work. That's where the real BS kicks in. In 5th grade, I pushed a girl in a monkey cage enclosure and ripped the skin of her arms off. I'm sorry, what? I attended an elementary school that is near to a small park where there were about 10 exotic animals like hawks, snakes, and monkeys. It's basically a small zoo. We usually wait there for our school service to arrive. We were just sitting around the birdcage-like enclosure of this aggressive monkey that we're making fun of and waiting for the school service to arrive. When the school service arrived, we all stood up and raced to the school service front seat. I knew that I won't be first, so I pushed the girl who was in front of me. She tripped close to the cage. The monkey got startled and went crazy instantly. The monkey grabbed her arm and ripped her skin off in one bite. It is the gnarliest thing I ever saw. Her face turned pale white, I think because of the shock and loss of blood. We carry her out of the park while she and some of us were stained with blood. An old guy who was working in the park sees us and immediately carried her and called an ambulance. The day after that, the monkey is not in the park anymore, and we have a new school service driver. Oh my god, like I get it's an accident, but oh, that is the worst possible accident. Jesus. Yeah, Jesus is right. Monkeys are effing scary. I've never understood why some people find them cute. Full disclosure, I agree with this guy. The monkeys freak me out. I don't understand why they freak me out, but they do. Harambe Jr. If anything, this monkey was way worse than Harambe because it actually ripped the skin off the little girl. I got drunk at work, stole cheesecake, and ended up passing out in the dressing room. So this happened a few years back. I worked for a high-end clothing store at a stock clerk/order pole. One week they asked me if I would be willing to work the night shift from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. These were very unusual hours, and it was me and 2 other coworkers required to stay. I had another job lined up at the time, so my commitment for the current one was not very strong to begin with. I decided I wanted to make my night a little more interesting, so before I work, I stopped and bought a bottle of whiskey, knowing that my boss would not be working and it would be very relaxed. I ended up drinking
drinking a lot more than I should have. I'm great at handling my alcohol, and my friends will tell me that I don't seem even slightly drunk, when on the inside I know exactly how drunk I am. So I pounded a bottle of whiskey in my car right before going in. About an hour and a half into my shift, I was stumbling and knocking stuff over. Luckily, none of my coworkers saw this. I started getting hungry, and I knew that on the third floor there was a little bakery/restaurant that the store owns. I'm not sure why they don't lock the bakery up, but I thought it would be a good idea to go check it out. I ended up hopping over the counter and getting into all of their cheesecakes. I had about 4 slices of 4 different types of cheesecake, and I also helped myself to some Sprite. I was so happy, but I started to feel really tired after. I ended up going into one of the dressing rooms and completely passed out on one of the benches inside. I woke up about 2.5 hours later with my name blaring over the loudspeaker. I thought for sure someone had seen me and reported me. I got to one of my coworkers and they were saying, "Where were you? Where did you go? We've been looking all over for you." I told them I got sick and I was puking in the bathroom and needed to go home. No more questions were asked and I was sent home that night. Never ended up getting caught. You know, it's a little unfair when I see stories like this because I know that their luck stat is just maxed out and I'll never get there. Where are you? Cheesecake. I mean, it'd be a valid reply. Getting drunk and eating cheesecake would probably make me puke. Well, that's because you've got a little baby stomach and you can't eat anything. So I pounded a bottle of whiskey in my car right before going in. Okay. That is a bit of a jarring sentence because how do you just pound a bottle of whiskey? Like that kills you, doesn't it? I fed my boyfriend and his friends dog food. I was in high school. It was the late 80s. I was emancipated already, so I had my own apartment. I also had pay channels because the landlord had a package deal that included my TV. A guy started really hitting on me, whom I really rather liked. It didn't dawn on me that he had only started doing so after I got my own apartment, which meant time away from his restrictive home environment for him. Well, he started spending time at my house, then he started bringing his friends to watch my pay channels with him and ignoring me. The first time they ate my food, I had cooked myself some crock-pot chili for the entire week. It was literally all my meals for the week, to be divvied up into the freezer and eaten as needed. I asked nicely for them not to do it again and explained clearly that it was all my food for the week. They did it again the next weekend when I made myself a lasagna, and this time I yelled at them. My erstwhile boyfriend then slapped me and told me to knock it off. I was interrupting their show, you know. I was rather outraged that not one guy, not one, so much as batted an eye about it. Instead of breaking up with him immediately though, I hatched a plot. I bought 2 cans of Alpo wet dog food and a bag of egg noodles. I made goulash with it in the crock pot and let them eat it. After that, I brought the landlord's dog up. I carefully let him lick each and every bowl, because of course they didn't wash their dishes after they stole my food either. I placed them into the cabinet as nonchalantly as I could, pretending this was how I always did dishes. I then answered their question about what was the recipe of my delicious food, and placed the 2 open cans of Alpo on the table. Needless to say, they never came back. I took great relish in spreading it around school that they not only ate literal dog food, but they loved it enough to want the recipe. God, the 80s are just, oh yikes, just hitting women? Yeah, I guess. I do think you should have just dropped him right then and there, but I do appreciate the scheming, really figuring out how to get back at him. A-holes deserved it, and I hope your boyfriend didn't hit you after you told him about the food. I would hope that didn't happen, considering they didn't say it in their story. I'm hoping that's the case. Today I learned dog food is delicious. Well, you can only know that if you try it. Are you saying you tried dog food? What's wrong with you? Oh, how the tables turn. Realistically, she probably could have turned the tables by hitting him back, but also the 80s, I don't know if that would have worked out. Well, those were, interesting. So I think I'll leave it off there. Thank you all once again for watching. My name is Brandon, and I will speak into your brain another day. Bye.